What up, guys? I just wanted to kick this off and get this going because right now I have some work stuff I got to do here in a few minutes. So I don't really know exactly when the trial is going to start. I know they were all supposed to be there ready in court around 9 a.m. Central. Here we are approaching 10 a.m. Central. But I wanted to kick this off, get the trial up and going just in case something was to happen while I'm in my company meeting or something going on with work. So I'm just trying to get things going and make sure it's broadcasted and ready for everyone to see. I hope and pray we get a verdict today. And I pray that we're really going to end up with what he deserves, which is self-defense. But that's what I was just getting going now. Share this out, get it out there. I see that we're followers are flowing in at the moment, which is good. Nothing's going on yet. As you can see right now, when they zoom in like this, they zoom in on this little seal on the wall. And so that's when they're not really doing anything, and the seal is behind the judge. So they'll zoom out and you'll see the judge just down below. We're waiting for that to kick off, but the trial is started, if you want to say that, I guess. But it's going. They're there. Denise, yeah, it should be on Be the Change YouTube. So that should be on there. But and so if anybody needs the link to Be the Change YouTube, let me go pull that up real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Pull it up on my other screen here. I want to pull it up on YouTube. Here you go. Good morning, guys. I see all your comments. Morning, Christine, Janine, Renee, Rose. Rose is always on top of it. Share this out. Let's get it out there. Jackie, Tammy, Denise, Adele, Kathy, Julie. Morning, guys. And we definitely want to get this out there, and let's hope and pray that we're actually going to see what we want to see today. I don't want to see the jury going home again. In my opinion, with what went on what went on last night in the trial, in my opinion, is intimidating the jury. You already had a protester fight a journalist, and that protester started crap the day before also. He never got in trouble. It was separated by the mob in the crowd. Oh, shaking. That's usually a good sign. That means the judge or someone's moving onto the stage or the podium. So we might see something come up. But we're already seeing some stuff of violent actions happening, especially amongst each other. And I don't even if he is found guilty, I think you're going to see some stuff happening anyways. But we'll see. But we want to make sure that we're right to a free and fair trial, right? Free and speedy, sorry, it's early morning for me. Fair and speedy trial. And so that's where for 2 days I thought shaking was a good sign, but it means nothing. Nay, that was the way I was on it last night, though. That was last night how I caught it, and I was ready to go as soon as the judge was ready to talk last night, when he was shutting things down and sending the jurors home. Yeah, we'll have to see. But the protesters, yeah, it looks like Lindsay's tagging someone that may know some information with the protesters last night, but they did wander the streets last night. One person, I know for sure one person was arrested because that was on camera that Citizen Stringer posted. They recorded and they were there right in front of it. So we saw that, but there's some talk that there was a second one. I don't know much about that detail, but, and again, it could be the internet. We don't know. So we'll have to see, but share this out. I just wanted to get this live because I have a meeting coming up with work. I wanted to make sure everybody can see this and I'll be in the comments. And I'll also be commenting sometimes in the background. So just know the quality in video is weird too. Are you saying my quality or whose, Christine? Mine seems okay. But Anyways, Jessica, 2 were arrested. Okay, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2. 2 were arrested, a 34-year-old female for disorderly conduct. Cool. Thank you guys. Like this is the joy of what getting everybody together, that we can actually share information, that especially from the people. I know there's a few of our followers that actually live there. So it'd be good to actually hear more of that, of what's going on. And honestly, I would love to be there to be able to capture it myself. But um, yeah, Christine, I agree with you. We talked about that a little bit in the wrap up last night. Actually, no. Um, I don't think we talked about it. I talked about it backstage with Eric. Um, I think in a high profile case like this, I don't know if we should allow protests to happen on the doorsteps of a building, of a courthouse. I think they should have to keep a distance. They can still protest. I don't want to take anybody's rights away from protesting, by any means, but having them being right around the building that close, and when the jurors have to exit and leave, they can see it. It's right there in their face. They can hear what they have to say, and those type of things. I don't know if that's a good thing. I think that's where there's a weakness, and we could probably amend any laws, for protesting, to give some buffer between a courthouse building that involves a jury. If it's a judge, I don't care. Judges can be escorted. They sometimes even have private parking, and protected, and can be escorted by another vehicle. So that's different. But when it comes to a jury, because they're just citizens like all of us, I don't think it's valuable to have them be able to come out and get, because they get shuttled from the courthouse to wherever they go. They just don't go and just leave and witness things. I believe they are shuttled to make sure that they're safe to get to somewhere. Um, I don't want them seeing the stuff going around the courthouse, because that can sway their decision, and that is not what's supposed to happen. And that is what, in my opinion, kind of what Christine is talking about, saying that the BLM needs to go, um, is that's mob mentality. They want to sway you. They want to put pressure on you. They want to make you feel like you are going to die, pretty much, if you make the wrong decision. And that's not fair. That's not a right to a fair and free trial. So we shouldn't do that. But that's kind of my 2 cents of what I've gathered over the last couple days and what I've been thinking. I think a lot of this pressure on the trial is all over. They don't want their city to burn like it did a year ago. Um, and so that's probably the big part in this. And most people probably have read the letter, the media stuff, reports, and the leaks, that there's supposedly, I'm saying supposedly, because it's not confirmed, but there's a couple jurors, or I've read it's either 2 or 3 jurors that are refusing to make a decision, and that's where it's making it tough. But I don't know. No one knows, honestly. So we have to kind of take it with a grain of salt and see what happens. Thankfully, the judge, if he feels that a mistrial is like did happen, he can call it even after the jury makes their decision. So we'll have to see on how that plays out. But I wanted to start this up before my meeting so everybody can see it. I'll be in the comments. I'm just going to be backstage. Um, and so I just wanted to get this going just in case the trial came up while I'm working, and we can make sure we're all here. But I'll be in the comments, guys. Throw out, share, like, subscribe, all of that stuff, that everybody knows what to do. Like, we don't need to go over the traditional social media stuff, but go ahead. We'll keep commenting. I'm going to jump off and I'm going to go backstage real quick, to start some work. But I wanted to make sure to get this going. Okay, guys, we'll talk to you guys in a little bit. I agree, Linda. If there's no audio, FYI, I should have said this also before. If there's no audio, I'll make sure to throw it in the comments, when they come in, because usually they'll come in and there won't be audio for a minute, and so I'll make sure that we, I'll put the comments in there so you guys know for sure there's no audio, and I'll let you know when it is, and you guys can give me a thumbs up when there is audio. Thanks for the view, Aiden. Love it. They can, Debbie. I don't know exactly what the process is on that because they did not let the other six that are excluded from making the decision. The six are still withheld there and follow the normal jury process. So I assume there is a process for swapping people out, and so that will happen. I assume at some point, and I believe that's at the judge's call. But we'll have to see. Right now, I assume they're still arguing over the stupid BS over the video, the drone footage, which is stupid, really stupid. And that's possible, Anthony. Very, very possible. Thanks, Judy. You're welcome, Sheree. Yeah, Lexi, I get what you're saying, but I don't think this is all entirely on the media warning. It's the media inciting it, in my opinion. So they're really just promoting the people that are saying that this is racism, blah blah blah. For example, there is a actually let me see if I can pull it up real quick before things get started. Here, I'll pull my camera back up. Um, my meeting. There is some tweets that are starting to float around that I find interesting. Um, let me see here. See if I can find it again. But there's some tweets going around that people are claiming that they didn't even know the people that were shot were the people that were shot were white. There's people thinking that they're black, and that's where the problem comes in. It should be against the law for the media to lie, and that's where there's a lot of issues with this. Is in inciting violence. Of course, that's something that I I really look at and utilize that term because the media uses that from January 6th, right? Which, as most people know, I'm a supporter of what happened on January 6th. Other than I don't want anybody to be harmed or hurt, but I'm proud of Americans getting together and protesting. Now, there were some things that happened. Fortunately, there's always some people that ruin it for everybody else. And I that's my opinion on it, but we're not going to talk about that. Um, but that's that's how I see this whole thing is the media is only portraying one side of it Fox News is even failing pretty bad with this Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. Now, Tucker Carlson released a video that caused more problems in this trial because they bought the video, just played it on the show, but it was a different video than what was actually portrayed in the courthouse because one was in HD and one was not. And so that causes problems. That's what the debate was yesterday is the prosecution or prosecutors were um, brought up Tucker Carlson multiple times on what's going on, playing the like trying to blame media and the defense for selling videos to Fox News, and that really tells you the stance of the DAs and the prosecution of what's going on because they really don't care. They're just trying to grasp at every straw possible and pass blame. They don't want to take any ownership at all. Give me 1 second. I want to pull up a couple of these tweets. It's kind of funny. Let's see. See if I can find this here. Media should be held accountable for what they say and what comes from the misinformation and withheld information. Pisses me off is how they keep bringing up the races of the jurors. Yeah, well, that's that's frustrating. And a lot of the things when it comes to this stuff that needs to be looked at. And sorry guys, I got my headphones on because that's what's going on with work at the moment. It's just listening, but when it comes to the media, it's the person that knows the real information. It's their responsibility to force them to force them to do a retraction, just like what um, Project Veritas does. Project Veritas will go after anyone that um, shares misinformation, especially about them personally. They're suing multiple news agencies right now. New York Times and CNN, I believe, are the two. And so that's definitely something that is already can be done, been holding them accountable. But do we do that? We just blow it off. It's just like, for example, Tom McDonald says it in, is it in Snowflakes? Where he says, lying to the government, you'll be put in prison. But lying to us, you're just called a politician. We're making it acceptable. We're treating it as, oh, whatever. It's just the media, or oh, whatever. It's just they're politicians. That's what they do. No, it's not what they do. We need to hold them accountable and ensure that we are getting the right information. So it is up to us a little bit, and on ensuring that we get the right information. Now, what you guys are doing, um, and what you guys are doing is the right thing, supporting independent media that are trying to share out the truth and make sure the right information is out there. That is what should be done. All the mainstream media outlets are feeling the pain because viewership is at an all-time low across the board. Doesn't matter what agency you want to look at, they're all low. They're all low. But CNN and the left media is taking more of a hit right now, but they're all still low. They're not what they used to be a long time ago. The internet is taking over because of the information that we can get and share out with agencies and other people that are trying to get the real information out with Be the Change or Citizen Stringer, with a whole bunch of them. I could probably name a whole bunch if I sat and thought about it for a second and put together a list. Those are the people that need to be supported and making sure that the real information is promoted. But that's all, Lexi, that's still some ownership on our part, right? So when a retraction doesn't get as much attention, we got to spread that retraction out just as much as the other information. And so, yes, I agree with you. It doesn't get as much attention, but there is ways that we can fix that by making sure that information gets the attention it deserves, which the internet is a fantastic tool to do that. You think that, but there's still a significant amount of people that still trust CNN, and all of those networks that suck. And in my opinion, Fox Network is getting closer to that sucking area. I'm not a fan. Newsmax and OAN are declining fast, in my opinion. Well, but the governor is scared to pull the cord and say go. The governor should have the National Guard around that building right now. He should already have them deployed and ready to go. They don't need to wait until stuff's already on fire or damage is already happening. They should already have them there. So it's stupid. Yeah, Michelle, we covered that a little bit earlier. It is there were two arrested in Kenosha um, for a little scuffle or fight that they had out in the street out in front of the courthouse. I'm still looking for this tweet because I saw this last night when I was laying in bed, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is our problem." So I'm trying to find it here. Okay, give me 1 second here. Throw a comment in there. Let's do a poll real quick, and let's go ahead and see if about the verdict with Kyle. Let's throw in a 1 if we think he's going to walk scot free, and let's do a 2 if you think that he might get some charges or minimal charges, and have to um, well get some sort of charge in the verdict today. So 1 if you think he's going to walk scot free, 2 if you think he's going to get some sort of charge today. I sure hope not, Rose. I sure hope not. Yeah, that understand that. Come on, Denise, you got to have an opinion. I honestly think so. I don't think they want to make a decision on a Friday. I think they would rather get it done and over with now. So I think we will have one today. If they don't, then it will have to go to Monday, which is awfully scary. You're welcome. I don't think they're worried about getting harmed themselves. I think they're worried about their city being burnt down like it was last year. Because most of these jurors will be living in the area. I'm glad I could help you guys. You're welcome, Kaylee. They're not there per se. They are told to be ready. So they are not there right now. They are not activated. They are told to be ready. Good point, Sarah. Everybody needs to go Christmas shopping. Very possible, Anthony. Very possible. Yeah. Well, remember, they tried to claim this was murder. They tried to claim what shooting prior was murder. It's not murder. It doesn't fit that narrative. So we'll see. It's coming from ignorance of the law, right? Nothing yet, Clinton. We're still waiting, but we're seeing activity around in the courtroom, so we're anticipating that something might be going on, or starting soon. And so we're just waiting for things to start kicking off. Not that I have seen yet, Denise. Sean, no, you haven't. We're still waiting. We're seeing activity. We keep seeing the judge's head, so we think something is going on. We're just waiting. I agree, Sherry. It's a good question. I know he served quite a few months in jail. I don't think he ever got out because they set his bond pretty high. So there you go. I think we all do. I think we all do, other than the ones making a scene outside the courthouse. Uh, we're gonna find out. I don't honestly don't think it's gonna happen, but I'm losing faith as the judge is just letting it go and continue. I think if a mistrial was going to be done, he would have probably already called it. I was having a little bit of faith that he was going to do it, but it's it's diminishing for sure. 100% Lexi. That's the reason why this is such a high thing for me on my radar is this is this really puts in question your risk of losing your right to self-defense and will really cause some issues. There we go. Sorry guys, I clicked on the wrong button. Hey guys, while we're waiting on this, we're gonna pull up a video that Barb Allen with American Snippets are doing. She's doing a live on Instagram with Ian Wendt. That is one of the guests that will be at our Great American Summit in January in Texas. I'll throw up a link in here, but I'm gonna go ahead and switch over the live stream to that. So give me just a second, and I'll get that pulled up here, and I'll keep an eye on the trial. So the trial is number one priority. As soon as something goes on, we're gonna pull it back up, drop down the summit, and pull up the trial. Be right back.
When you have so many people, and you know this, you have so many people who jump in right away and say you're crazy, that for doing this, you can't do this, you'll never do this.
Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you guys have audio?
To do this, COVID, that. Like, they give you all the reasons why you won't be able to pull this off, right? And all the reasons why. And I think that applies to anything big you want to do. So to have all of you guys jumping on and basically proving proof of concept there long before this event takes place is really sweet. So let's talk about you, Ian. Let's talk about where you're coming from, what's going on.
Yeah.
Hello, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know? What does everybody want to know?
We want to know. All right. So let's talk about what do you have to do with this event? How do you and what you do and this event correlate? Like, why are you coming?
So I, for everybody that's followed me and knows what I've been doing, for the last couple of years, I've been building this Patriot Gear brand, but it's much more than that. It's more of a movement to try my best to remind people that patriotism is not a partisan issue, and it's not this like exclusive thing to one side or the other. I very much lean to the right, obviously, but people that really know me and the people that follow me and have been along this journey the whole time know that I always say I'm much more of like a constitutionalist. I'm pro freedom.
Yeah.
I'm all freedom. I don't care if and what by freedom, what I mean by that is real freedom. Yeah, we talk about freedom. We talk about I want the freedom to speak my mind. I want the freedom to be able to do what I want on social media. I want the freedom to be able to have guns. I want the freedom to be able to do all these other things, right? But the problem is a lot of those people that are screaming freedom are not willing to give freedom to other people with things that they disagree with. And it's such a backwards thing. It's like, you may disagree with the fact that some people want to kneel for the anthem. I do too, wholeheartedly. I freaking hate it. I think it's a huge sign of disrespect, and it pisses me off every time I see it. But at the end of the day, that's freedom. At the end of the day, they're not hurting anybody, and so they have the freedom to do what they want as long as they're not hurting anybody. And even though you hate it, you have to be okay with them having that freedom, because that's what makes America America. The ability for people to do what they want and be what they want, and not get thrown off of a building for doing something that people disagree with.
Yeah, and I think in terms of those people too who feel like they have to kneel for the flag or burn the flag, to me, I'm not gonna lie, I let myself get all twerked up about that in the beginning.
The burn the flag thing, that I'm not okay.
It upset me, right? And on the other hand, I feel like that just also raises the bar for us to prove, to just lead by example and just be stronger and more solid and do more and work harder and lead those people, like, be so good at what we're doing that they can't really ignore it anymore, kind of thing. And highlight what true American spirit really is.
Yes, and that's the thing. So anyway, so that's kind of my message, is like, patriotism is not a partisan issue, and it's not something that's exclusive to one side. It's kind of been hijacked by different organizations, different people, different parties, whatever. But at the end of the day, if you love the people here in this country and you love this country and you want it to be free and you're willing to defend it, then you're a patriot, right? People think that you have to be like one party or one race or one type of person nowadays to be a patriot. And it's like, it's so stupid and it's so warped. And so we started this business a couple of years ago with just one simple t-shirt. And now it's grown to be, tens of thousands of orders, 45 countries. And it's reminding people that patriotism is not a partisan issue. Yeah. And it's getting people to proudly wear that label on whatever, right? And so anyway, aside from that though, I've always been really, really loud on my social media about all this stuff, but I haven't really thrown my hat into the whole get on stage and talk about it. Now, in my career is marketing and sales. And I've always spoken on stages. You know, that's how I got to know Brad. I mean, before any of it even started, you know, Brad and I were friends. I'd been on his podcast, and in the sales and marketing world, I spoke a lot. But I haven't thrown my hat really into the ring of getting on stages and speaking about this, because I feel like every event I was invited to was a very like partisan thing. It was all about like, are you on this side or are you on this side? Do you do this? It's just like, that's not, I don't want to speak at an event that has a political agenda. Okay. I don't want any part of that. And so when I saw this come up, I said, okay, this is something that I can get behind, because this is just pro freedom. This is about freedom, and it's about building what we all have the literal God-given right to build here in America, which is the American dream. And people forget this, but America is America because of the ability for people to build and create and do what they want to do in life. And I've been very blessed my entire life, not just now with Official Patriot Gear, but in general, to have been able to, you know, live outside of that box that I feel like they want you to be in of this, like, you know, go to school, get this, build, you know, just kind of the rat wheel, right? Now, I have my degree, but at the same time, I didn't fall victim to this system that I believe is basically pumping out a bunch of people that are complacent and okay with being pushed down by those that actually have the real power and the real control without even knowing it's happening. And so the reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I want people to understand that now more than ever is your time to build and create and chase your American dream. And by doing that, you are showing the rest of the world why America is so great. You are showing the rest of the world why it is that we are fighting so hard to make sure that we don't lose our ability to have that freedom to build what we want and create what we want. And right now, that is under attack. Like, make no mistake, it's under attack right now. But but the other thing that people need to understand is, like, it doesn't do any good to just constantly complain and talk about the issues and have no solutions. And I'm not just talking about solutions as far as like how to get into the political spectrum and figure things out and fix things. I love what Brad said yesterday. He said, you know what? People are talking about how they're going to tax me more. Cool. Tax me more.
I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking.
I'll make more money, right?
Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know what? That's what this is about. It's about Americans standing up and saying, F you, do what you want. I don't care. I'm still going to build what I want. I'm still going to create what I want. And this is the other thing that everybody needs to understand that's going to this event. You have more backing right now in the space of people, in this group of people that have now realized what's going on in this country. You have more backing and more support than you have ever had, ever. And now is the time that, you know, all these people that are losing their jobs or whatever, this might be the time where it's happening for a reason. And it might be time to pivot. I had a career, right? I had a career of over 10 years. And I said, I left it, and I literally went all in on this. And it's like, I'm not just some special person. Like, anybody can do it. It's just, I think people are afraid of failing. And I think that they're afraid that they just like we are dealing with the same issue right now where, you know, you get on a plane and everybody's wearing what they're wearing on their faces, right? I guarantee you that 70-80% of those people want to take it off, but they won't because they're afraid that not enough people will do it with them. It's the same exact idea. People are so afraid of throwing their hat in the ring and actually getting in and trying to build something for themselves right now because they don't feel like they have the support, or they don't feel like they'll be able to do what they want to do. You can, and you will. You just have to trust that. And you have to be willing to make the sacrifices that take to build a business in America. But I promise you, there is nothing more American right now than you stepping up and building something here in America and showing people why America is such an amazing country and why we are the freest nation in the world. And one of the biggest reasons we are is because we have the ability to chase the American dream. So if you're not chasing the American dream, and if you're just sitting back and allowing the freaking system to just suck you dry, then you're in the same boat as everyone else. So that's why I wanted to get involved with this, because I feel like this summit is not so much of let's get together and let's complain about the issues and let's one side or bash on the other. It's more, let's get together and let's talk about how we can actually rise above it, no matter what's happening. Let's talk about the issues and let's talk about how to solve them. But more than that, let's talk about how we can get our own houses in order. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
I love that. I love that you put it that way, because I don't think that I've been able to articulate it that way myself. So I love that you looked at it and saw that. I love that there's going to be people like you and people like Brad to complement each other and speak on the importance of doing it, and then also show people how. I know for me personally, part of what held me back even before all this started was wanting to take that leap out of the path that I wasn't happy on. But dude, Ian, there's so many people who want to do what you're doing, want to do what we're doing, and they genuinely don't know how, because it's not talked about in their circles. It's not respected or encouraged in their circles. And so I think bringing all of these people together to normalize it, I think that's the word. We have to normalize doing what we're doing instead of making it look like a maverick lifestyle, right? I think what we're doing and how we're doing this should be the way, instead of looked upon like you're crazy or whatever it is, or wrong for bucking the system. So I think that's a big part of it. And yeah, it is a solution-based event. It's a solution-based event to get together and network with people and connect, and to see the impact that we're going to make just by coming together and supporting these organizations that are doing so many really incredible things. And when you look at the lineup with you guys all in it, like, if we're all crazy, if we're the wild ones, then I'll take it, because we're in some good company.
For sure. Yeah, there's some awesome people. I mean, you got Ian Smith coming, you have Brad Lee coming, you have, who else is coming? Bobby's coming, which I'm not so sure how I am with him right now, because he doesn't like eggs, so I don't know about that. There's a lot of people though. Like I'm stoked, and there's gonna be, I don't even know all the other speakers. I literally, like, I've only seen just a few of them, but it's this is the kind of thing that everybody needs to get behind right now. Like, if you're in Texas and you're not going to this event, then I'm not just trying to sell you tickets, guys. I don't get anything from this. Like, I don't get paid for it, just so you know. It's like you're missing out on the opportunity to.
Yeah, we're not making any money from this either, to clarify. I think that's a good point to make. Again, I said it at the top of this, every single dime that's raised is being donated back. We are not walking, I'm going to say quite the opposite of making money on this event. Truth be told, like, we're all in. We have given everything that we have to this event because we believe in it so much. So carry on, Ian. I like that you made that point. I wanted to clarify that as well.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is like, if you're not getting involved with events like this one, especially if you're in Texas right now and you're not getting involved in an event like this, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're losing the opportunity to get around like-minded people, and also put yourself in a position where you can learn from some of the best minds in the industry, in all different industries, on how to actually build something of your own, or just how to get involved with things right now. And more than that too, I saw, I think it was Ian that was doing he did a live with somebody about another event that we have coming up as well. And he was talking about how one of the biggest things that he gets out of these events, because he started speaking a lot more, right?
Yeah.
He said one of the biggest things is that when he gets in the room with people who feel like he does, he feels empowered. And he not only feels empowered, but he feels like it's a sense of relief. Like, all of us are so tired of what's going on right now. And it's so hard to feel like you're on an island by yourself and fighting this battle alone. But then you get into a room with hundreds and hundreds of people that feel the same way that you do and want to fight with you. It's like, you get wind in your sails, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in Texas and you're not planning on coming to this event, then that's what you're missing out on. And so you can continue to go down the path you are and continue to feel like you're alone or whatever, but like, you're never going to feel like you have that backing behind you. And the other thing too is, again, if you're trying to build something, well, guys, you're going to be in a room with hundreds and hundreds of people that are willing to support you. And so, I think this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen right now, more than anything. And this is the message that needs to be sent to people. So yeah, that's why I'm getting involved. That's why we want to get involved with Official Patriot Gear and show our support and try to help as many people as we can.
Awesome. We really appreciate you jumping in and backing us like that. Patriot Gear being a sponsor of this and you coming to speak, it is so great. And it is like we've already just by doing this event, we've magnified our own network and added such power to our network just by collaborating with all of you guys who are part of it. And that's what happens. We didn't just start out of nowhere saying, hey, let's do this event. We went to events and we started building a network and we learned and we saw. And we said, but you know, Ian, I don't know about you, any other events you've gone to, I haven't really seen a professional event that does patriotism and, you know, the American spirit in there. And I haven't seen a patriotic event or rally that works on professional development and fitness and health and finances, all that either. So I'm hoping that this event is a template for a lot of events.
That's, I mean, again, there's a place for political rallies. Like I get that, you know, it can be important, especially in a fight like this, but political rallies, you're not going to walk away with useful skills and actual information that can help you to, again, get your own house in order. Right. It's such a different perspective and such a different like path. It's just, you go to these rallies to rah, let's fix things. These are the problems, blah, blah. You basically talk about problems the entire time.
Yes.
That's what rallies do. They literally just talk about problems.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, there's a place for it, right? Because it exposes things and whatever. But this event and events like this, which I hope there's going to be a lot more, like even the one that I'm speaking at again. Can I?
Yeah, of course. Because and that's the thing,
guys. Just so you know,
the thing is that we have to support each other's things,
yeah.
right? So we're not in this for So mention it. Go ahead.
So there's another event, and it's a virtual event. It's this Saturday, the Global Freedom Rally. It's literally a worldwide event that got set up by Andy, and it's like people from all around the world are going to be online talking about this stuff, and it's not just complaining about issues and talking about issues. It's people in the fitness world, it's people in the business world, it's people in marketing, it's people in finance, it's people in crypto, it's people in this and that, and it's talking about how Americans can take their freedom back and can take their lives back, no matter what's happening with the corrupt politicians, no matter what's happening with the elites, right? Because everybody's like, what are we going to do? Everything's just going to end. Like, it's nothing but a complaint fest to me. And it's like, instead of complaining, get involved and start learning how you can actually set yourself apart no matter what happens. Because I'll be honest with you, I am building something right now. This community is building something right now that no matter what happens, our boat's going to continue to sail. I promise you, nothing's going to stop it. Like, no matter what storm comes our way, it's not going to stop sailing. And so that's what these events are going to do for you. It's going to teach you actual skills and abilities and give you information so that you can get your own house in order and you can stop worrying so much about I'm just a product of everything that happens with the government. It's like, that's not what America's about. America's about setting yourself apart. And yes, we fight for those freedoms, but you also have to make sure that you have everything else in order. Otherwise, the freedom doesn't matter because then you're not able to do anything, right? Yep. So we fight for our freedom, and then we use that freedom to actually do what that freedom was meant for. All these people that have died and paid the ultimate sacrifice, they didn't do it just so that you can sit online and complain about things. They did it so you'll actually go out and be a great American. And being a great American, your obligation as an American is to do what America was meant for. Chase the American dream, right? Work hard and build what you want. Build something of your own. Create and inspire others to do the same thing. So that's what these events are about. And it's not a political rally where everybody just complains. It's a freaking event that you're going to walk away and feel like, wow, not only do I have a massive group behind me to help me with this stuff, but now I have a direction of what I need to do so that I can build my own American dream.
I love it. Wow. That's awesome. That's so cool. I love everything you just said. I'm even now more excited than I was before to have you on that stage to talk, to share that message. Picture doing that like live at this event, you know, with all these people there together. And again, we've already had so much interest in this that we have half of our lineup filled for next year already with people, with amazing people that we actually could not fit in this year. How cool is that, right? So we're already looking ahead to next year, but we do have to get ahead, through this year too. If you're interested in sponsoring this event, hop onto it. You can ping me, message me directly, and I'll send you to our sponsor manager, or you can hop onto greatamericansummit.com if you want to get a ticket. Get that ticket today. Gift a ticket. It is the holiday season, right? Gift it out to people. And once again, this is not for any of us to make money from. We are looking to make an impact beyond this event, beyond the 48 hours that this event is taking place. We want that impact to last well beyond that event, and not only in the lives of everybody that attends, but just I want people to carry out the feeling that they added value to someone. Because I think once you get the feeling that, oh my gosh, I did this, I added value to this person's life, it helps you stand a little taller and a little more confident, and know that you actually have value to offer, which is half the battle in a lot of people's lives, I think, too. So that's what this all is. Ian, we could not do this without people like you. Generally, there would be no event without people like you jumping in. It's greatamericansummit.com is the link. It's in my bio. Ian has posted it a bunch of times too. Greatamericansummit.com is the link. Hop on there, spread it. Once again, we get squashed. Ian, your social media reach is being squashed. Mine is being squashed. So the more people we have spreading this out for us is going to be another way that we circumvent the wave that's working against us. So the more people out there spreading it out, the better this is going to go. Whether you can come or can't come, there's a GoFundMe site as well that I'll drop the link into my bio, where you can just donate $5 or $10 or whatever it is to support this as well. So it all adds up. It does make a difference. And this is the time, like this is it. We don't have that much more of a window to get in there and do something, everyone. Like we have to either get up now or don't complain later when it's all crashing down on us. It's not a done deal yet. We didn't lose this country yet, right? But we will if nobody steps up and does something. I see Bobby Sauce just hopped on too.
And let me just say this, what you're saying, this country, like, I think people use that term so loosely. Like, what is this country? Is it the whole country? Is it the whole this? Like, this country to me is what this country stands for. It's like, you know what, does that make sense? Look,
I'm going to point this, Ian, I'm going to point this over there. See that folded flag?
Yes.
That's
like, tell your story, Barb.
That's my husband.
How many people know your story? Tell it.
But that's what this country means to me, right? So when I say this country, I'm talking people like my husband who died in service of it. We didn't lose what he died in service of yet, right? But see, and now I get emotional and worked up because I believe in it so strongly. I'm like, when people say it's so hard to do this or to get squashed or to lose your quote best friend or even your job, like, yeah, I get it. That is hard. But you know what's hard? Getting one of these fucking folded flags is hard. That's hard. Being the person who that flag represents is hard. Like, that's hard. So nothing else that we're going through is hard enough to justify not doing it, really, in that sense. And unless people stand up, and if it feels wrong to you, if it feels like it's not okay, if it feels like this isn't what America is supposed to be about, if it feels like your happiness is being determined by somebody else, then you have to get up. You have to do something about it. And our window, what I meant, Ian, our window to push back and do something about what we feel is wrong, what we see is happening, that window will close if we do nothing, right? But it's open now, and it's only staying open on the backs of people who are willing to stand there and push it open. So that's what I mean by this country.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And so, you know, I can't imagine going through what you've gone through, Barb, and I'm so grateful for your husband's sacrifice, for your sacrifice, and for everyone like you and like him who has sacrificed everything so that I can have what I have and I can live the way I live. Like, that's why this is so important. And that's why it's so important that we do our best to build, to do what America was meant for, because that's what those people paid that sacrifice for. They didn't sacrifice everything just so that we can sit back and allow this stuff to happen, or that we can sit back and be complacent. They paid that sacrifice so that every American has the ability and the opportunity. That's the real word, opportunity. This country, there's more opportunity in this country still, even right now with this ridiculous regime that's taken over, right? There's still more opportunity in this country than any other country in the world to create and build what you want and to be who you want to be. And that's what those sacrifices were made for. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, because that to me is what another piece of really being a patriot is all about, right? And is defending that legacy, defending that sacrifice that's been made. And so, yeah, that's what these things are all about. So
yeah. So perfect. So everybody who comes in is a part of it. I thank you, not just as like as an American who sees what's going on, but on a deeply personal level for me. I thank you guys because you are helping preserve the legacy that my husband died for, and you're helping me be a part of that. You know, like anytime you're in pain or you're suffering or you have grief or whatever, and you don't attach a positive purpose to that, then a purpose will be assigned to you, right? So you guys are helping me shift all that in a positive outlet, which is a part of my own healing. But so on a selfish note, that's what I get out of this event. But on a better
Right.
note, it just makes me know that what he died for mattered, that his sacrifice mattered. And if we give up on it, then it didn't matter. And that I'm not okay with that, right?
Right.
So,
Yep.
so it mattered. Ian, thank you 100 times over for joining us today and for joining us at the event and for continuing to push it out. Bobby Sauce, I think you're still on here. I'm gonna track you down. We're gonna go live with him too.
On here to get off. Nobody wants to hear your
so
comments.
many awesome people that we get to connect with and
Eggless comments. Get out of here.
in person and come to this event. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in January. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward.
thank you for putting it on, Barbara. Thank you for. I know that you're going through hell right now to get this thing going. So, thank you for all that. And I'm going to throw out a. I'm going to throw out a discount code for everybody for Patriot Gear too. Just for anybody that's on here that wants to go grab some and have a little discount. We'll do GAS10. So GAS10, and you'll get 10% off your whole order if you go order.
Look at you, fancy with the codes.
Yeah, I'll throw something out for you guys. So thank you again for putting this on though, Barbara. You're people like you putting on events like this and trying to, really get this ball moving. That's what this country needs. And so thank you.
Yep. Awesome. You have an excellent day, Ian.
Okay. We'll see ya.
See ya.
Okay, I'm going to switch back over and pull up the trial again. And it's still no action yet. It's just showing the seal behind the judge, but we're just waiting. It will be a lot of fun, Tim. It'll be a lot of fun. The summit in Texas is going to be a good time. Everybody should come down if they can. Yeah, Michelle, I know the feeling. About it being online, I did reply to that. Let me go back and see if I can find it. There it is. Oh, I accidentally posted it in Facebook, not into YouTube. That's my fault. Sorry. Should we pull up something else like what's going on? Let's see. There's a lot of other things going on today. There's debates on the floor on Build Back Better. There is also the Ahmaud Arbery case. I don't know if that is in recess or anything. Let me look. Overall, the Kyle Rittenhouse trial is going to take precedent. So we will, whenever they have action on here, that will be number one for sure. Thanks, Jay. We appreciate the view. We like your comments. Yeah, that would be Rosenbaum, Sean. Rosenbaum was the first person that was shot and killed. He actually has molested or is a sex offender with 5 different boys from the ages of like 9 to 11 or something like that. We're still waiting, Brent. We don't have much going on right now. We're just waiting for the trial to kick off. I'm looking for something else to pull up. Let me see what's going on with the Ahmaud Arbery case. There's also the debates on the floor for Build Back Better Act, which is garbage. Um, yeah, we've seen the judge's head a few times, so we keep getting excited, thinking that things are going to kick off. Because the seal is right behind his chair. I don't disagree, Sean. I don't really wish death upon many people, but it comes to children and you're doing something to them, that's where things, children and women, if you start doing stuff to them, it becomes a problem. That's true. Build back better for them, not us. Agreed. What do you mean things in OKC are heating up? I haven't heard anything going on over there. Yeah, with prejudice means that the state can't come after him again. So if he gets a mistrial without prejudice, the state can come after and retry again. But if it's with prejudice, the state does not have the opportunity to retry. Just an update. I see we got a bunch more viewers in here that we didn't have. So we're just waiting for the trial. We've seen the judge come around and the camera kind of shake and move like people are actively in the courtroom. We're just kind of waiting until we can get some action from them. They could be deliberating, but we really don't have much of an update yet. That is where we're at right now. Really, Jay? Really, Jay? I'm done giving you attention. Yeah, the judge would call that. The judge would make the decision. Here, I'm going to pull up the House debates real quick on the Build Back Better plan for the time being, so we're not just staring at an empty seal, well, a seal on the wall. But again, Kyle Rittenhouse trial takes precedent, so we'll just switch back as soon as I see it on my screen over here. Excuse me. So I'll switch back to it. But I'm going to pull up the debates. It's kind of getting heated in there. They're getting upset at each other.
It provides universal pre-K, and I could go on and on. We have an opportunity to build the
Give me a thumbs
architecture
up
for
if
the
you guys have
future for
audio.
working families and working and middle-class families across this country.
Gentleman's time's
are
expired.
counting on us to build a better and a stronger America.
Gentleman's
Thank you, and
time's
I yield
expired.
back.
Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, proud to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Smith.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
The U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops said it is completely unacceptable that the Build Back Better Act expands taxpayer funding of abortion and many new and expanded programs. The National Right to Life Committee has pointed out that even the Obamacare contained a provision that specifically permitted states to ban elective abortion in their exchanges. The BBB, starting in 2024, would explicitly override the laws of those states. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Biden once said that those of us who are opposed to abortion should not be compelled to pay for them. This bill coerces us to pay for abortion on demand. Unborn babies, Mr. Speaker, need the President of the United States, members of Congress, and to be their friend and advocate, not powerful adversaries subsidizing their violent destruction. Yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure for me to introduce and acknowledge for 1 minute the gentleman from New Jersey, the always quotable Mr. Pascrell.
The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, and congratulations on your efforts in this legislation. You know, last November, American people put Democrats in charge to raise this nation from its knees, to improve the lives of working men and women, to confront powerful interests and rebuild for the next century. New Jersey taxpayers sent us to provide real relief from the odious SALT cap. Don't pick out 2 or 3 districts in the country. Look at the whole situation and then decide about this low-hanging fruit that you took to pay for your disaster in 2017. This legislation is a blueprint for America to build back better. And what was your answer? We got back next week to vote on the other bill, and you voted to adjourn. You want to go home. You don't want to vote on any of those things. You did it. Facts matter. Dispute it. Only one party is making raising children affordable. Only one party is creating a green future that aids unions and supports domestic manufacturing.
Gentleman's
Only
time's
one
expired.
party will close the tax gap and provide tax fairness for working Americans.
Gentleman's time's
The
expired.
American people elected Democrats to act with urgency.
Gentleman's
for the
time's
present
expired.
And the future, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Members are reminded to direct their comments to the chair. Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, proud to yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Bost.
Gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. And Mr. Speaker, the Build Back Better plan is a big bloated joke. The problem is it's not funny. At a time when inflation is skyrocketing, House Democrats are doubling down on their socialist wish list. Is your family struggling financially after endless COVID shutdowns? Don't worry, the Democrats have a plan. They're going to be giving $80 billion to the IRS to double the number of agents that can track your spending habits. Worried about whether you can afford to put gas in your car or heat your home this year? Well, House Democrats have a plan for that too. Huge tax hikes on natural gas, kneecapping American-made energy products, and pouring billions into the Green New Deal. Are you concerned about the security on our borders, keeping the community safe? House Democrats are providing amnesty for 8 million illegal immigrants. We still don't talk what this bill is.
Hey guys, let me go ahead and mute this real quick so I can talk. So I just found out something. I just saw it was being posted. There is being reports. This might be some of the problem we're dealing with today. Is there's being reports of media personnel or playing as media personnel following a juror home and trying to get information from them, and it's currently under investigation. And the judge says that he should get a statement later, and it's under investigation. And this is from Brian Inton, and he is talking about this. Like, it's kind of interesting. I'm following him on Twitter. And it looks like the official response from Kenosha Police is the accuracy of your inquiry. There is accuracy to the inquiry. However, I can't go into further detail because it's under investigation. So this is the concern that we have with not sequestering the jury. You sequester the jury to protect them and to keep them from this happening. This is a problem. This is why we are all concerned with it dragging out. This mob mentality with Black Lives Matter and Antifa is going to intimidate these people into where Kyle doesn't get a fair trial. And so that's where mistrial is such a big deal right now. It can't continue. We have to have a decision. And a decision, it sucks because we have to make sure that a fair trial is given to Kyle, because I would never want to remove anyone's right to a fair and free trial. No one's. Because if I take away someone else's, even if I don't like the person, even if it's Kyle Rosenbaum that I don't like at all, I think he's not Kyle Rosenbaum. Kyle Rosenbaum. It's Rosenbaum. I don't even remember his first name because he's useless to me. But I would still want him to have a fair trial. He should, because that's all of our rights. We need to respect all of our rights. This is not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. And if this draws out any longer, this is going to get worse and worse, because now that there's an investigation and there's talks about it, that people are going to get more ideas and try to do it and try to be the first one with the information on the internet. That's what they want. They want to be famous because they want to be the first one or sell it to the media. That's what they want to do. It's bad, very bad. And so with this, I don't know if this is causing the delay today. Let me check and make sure. Yeah, the trial's not progressed at all. I don't know if this is causing the delay this morning, if the judge is trying to figure out what to do. But there's no more juries going home on their own. They need to be sequestered. And National Guard needs to be engaged. And we need to have everybody there protecting the jurors so we can have a fair trial. That's all we want, is a fair trial. This mob mentality has to go. I don't care. I know people are worried about their city in Kenosha. I know we have a few followers that live up there. I'm worried about your city too. But we can't let the trial go just because of fear of this mob mentality. We have to stand up to this mob mentality and stop it. And Danny, yes, 500 National Guards are on standby. They are not there. It will take them an hour or two to get there and organized. Just because they're on standby doesn't mean they're locked and loaded and on a truck. No, it's going to take them a minute. They need to be there now. And so this whole thing is just turning into being ridiculous. Oh, it looks like the trials come back on. Let me switch it over, guys. Let me do that real quick. I see the judge sitting down. Oh, crap. Wrong button. Here it is. And everybody give me a thumbs up if you got audio so I can make sure you got it. It looks like there's no audio yet, but when you see the captions at the bottom, we should have audio.
I might have a direct line for her.
Now that's interesting, Lexi. I'm going to do some digging on that.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. No, that's not it.
I hear rufflings of paper if everyone else does.
Probably the same dog. Calls me every day at this time.
Yeah, we'll see, Kelly. I'm waiting for more talking, and then we can confirm like where we're at. Volume's up all the way, so we should be good there. I didn't catch that. I hope they don't look happy because we need a decision today, and he should be let off as self-defense. Good question, Jamie. I don't know. That I would think so. I would think so. Okay. Share this out, guys, since it looks like we might be making some progress now instead of just looking at a wall and watching paint dry.
All right, this is pertinent to the case of the state against.
Everybody can hear that, right?
Rittenhouse, and the media have been asking questions. There's been conversation around this morning. We had asked the media coordinator to determine possible whereabouts of certain persons because we received a report this morning from the Kenosha Police Department that last evening, well, and let me just set this background here. The jury in this case is being transported from a different location in a bus with the windows covered so that they don't have to look at aren't exposed to any signs by one side or another or interest in the case. And so I'm going to call it a sealed bus. And that's been done every day. And then they're brought here to this building. And last evening, a person who identified himself as James G. Morrison and who claimed that he was a producer with NBC News, employed for MSNBC, and under the supervision of a person, what's going on? Oh, okay. Under the supervision of someone named Irene Bayan in New York for MSNBC. The police, when they stopped him because he was following at a distance of about a block and went through a red light, pulled him over and inquired of him what was going on, and he gave that information and stated that he had been instructed by Ms. Bayan in New York to follow the jury bus. The matter is under further investigation at this point. And the media has asked questions about it. That's the latest I have. And he was ticketed for violating a traffic control signal. He's not here today from what I'm told. And I have instructed that no one from MSNBC News will be permitted in this building for the duration of this trial.
You assume or for
Very
sure?
serious matter, and I don't know what the ultimate truth of it is, but absolutely it would go without much thinking that someone who is following the jury bus, that is it's extremely serious matter and will be referred to the proper authorities for further action. Thank you.
What? So what's going on? They're just done for right now? What the hell? Guys, I'm just as confused as everyone else right now. I'm trying to process what. Of course, I just told you what I was reading, and then he just admitted that what I was reading and found is true. But what the F? Well, like, why? We just come on and we just bring people on, and we're just now, we're just going to take a break. They're moving the jurors. I know the notes, they're moving the jurors to a different location in a bus that has the windows covered. But what are we doing? Are we not coming back today or what? No, someone claimed, this is allegedly, someone from NBC followed a juror home and was trying to get information. And so that's what happened. That happened last night, which is why we've been saying the jury needs to be sequestered. You are making this more of a disaster than it really needs to be. And so on top of that, they pulled over the person that was following this bus, another person that was following this bus, that they ran a red light, probably trying to do things. Again, this is why the jury needs to be sequestered and protected. This is ridiculous, just ridiculous. And it's just freaking dumb. The name was said. I'm not going to repeat it. I don't like giving out that information. It's I also don't like, and Shannon, you say NBC was barred from courtroom. He didn't say that. He said, I assume. No, they should be. They should not be allowed anywhere there right now for a long time. This is what's called jury intimidation. They do not want this stuff anywhere. They do not want. The jury needs to be protected to where they cannot be manipulated by this mob mentality. This is just ridiculous. And yes, this should be a mistrial. However, as what Tim mentioned, the left wants a mistrial, because then the left can go and actually retry them if it doesn't go with prejudice, and gather more data and try to put together more things, and then try going after Kyle again. This is just stupid. Really, really stupid. And I don't know what to expect next. I really don't. I don't know what to expect next. He didn't say they were moving them to a different location. He said they move them daily. They move them daily to a different location. Okay, I didn't catch that. I heard he assumes they're no longer allowed in this courtroom. He did not say for sure. But anyways, this is just stupid. Like, so frustrating. And why the decision should have been thrown out for a mistrial a long time ago with prejudice, when the prosecutors are trying to go after him and say, and use videos that were edited and not reviewed and not confirmed. Well, you got to remember, Chrissy, it's Fox. They also said Al Gore won Florida and was going to become president first too. Which is why we don't really jump the gun and do all of those final things saying for sure until it is 100%. You got to be careful with mainstream media. But why didn't they give us next steps? Oh, Steve is going nuts. Hang on. I got to share this. Steve from Citizen Stringer. I got to pull him up. He just found something. He's been doing some digging. Looks like what Steve had. I have Steve up on my screen over here, but he just said he found that there is a person, and all credit to Steve from Citizen Stringer, guys. If you guys don't follow him, definitely do that too. He actually just found there is an Irene. What is her name? It was Irene Beale or something like that works for MSNBC. And that's one of the names that is going around that's in trouble for this. So most likely this story of someone followed the bus and ran the red light is true and getting hairy. What up, Eric?
Yo, sorry, man. I apologize for being late this morning. Kind of a lot going on here at home, but I just wanted to pop in because I know there's been a little bit of a development as far as some news around some of the jury and some of the stories that you were just kind of getting into. So I just wanted to pop in and participate here for a few minutes, guys. We appreciate everybody sticking with us. We're doing our best to give absolute wall-to-wall coverage on all of this. So hang in there. A lot going on.
So Vera, to answer your question, are they done? We don't know. We
Yeah.
have no clue on what's going on and around what's the next step. It's on a stroller across the screen. Okay, that's fine. But we're trying to figure out what's going on. Irene Bayan Steve from Citizen Stringer just said he found someone that works there by MSNBC, and it seems like there is a tie to there is a tie to this person that ran the red light to MSNBC that was following the juror bus. So this is a big deal. This is why we say there is big concerns with mainstream media and manipulating people. Not that that was the intent here, but they know the laws and you need to respect the jurors and their privacy. You don't need to be following them home. You don't need to be following the buses that have them on there. I don't care if the buses have clear windows. You don't need to be taking pictures. They need their privacy.
The press have very clear. There's actually some specific laws that they cannot break. And in this instance, I'm not exactly caught up on the situation, but I'm gathering that it sounds like there was somebody that was kind of pushing towards the bus or maybe breaking some traffic laws in order to follow them. Again, this goes towards an argument of jury intimidation. And it's something that the media does well without ever having penalty cost for it. The only other time I can really remember there being there was a big, everybody kind of remembers probably the kid who got strung through the media as being some sort of racist because he was wearing a MAGA hat while there was a Native American rally going on. I think his name was Nick. I want to say Swartzen, but I think that's an actor. And that kid sued the media for, I think, a couple $100 million for defamation and mischaracterizing his argument. The media is pretty incessant, but there are some specific rules around what they can and can't do as far as harassment. And some of these things may fall into that court. Nick Sandman, thank you. I appreciate everybody in the comments there getting that for me. It's just really important to remember, guys, as all of this is going on, we still have a jury that's out, essentially. They are trying to come to a verdict, and any attempt to badger them, to dock them, any of those things will ultimately lead to a procedural error or should lead to a procedural hearing within the court. That, again, we still don't know how this judge is going to rule on some of these mistrial specific procedure dockets that have been submitted. So it goes to jurisprudence in a lot of ways. So just remember, as we're kind of waiting for a lot of things to fall back, the press has a duty to report news. And right now we're getting a lot of misinformation. And we're doing our best to sort through it. So I just wanted to kind of add to what Casey's saying. There's a lot flying around. Some of it is very unconfirmed. It's just, there seems to be ties. We're going to try and confirm some of that stuff. I'm assuming throughout the day, Casey, as we kind of get more information in, we'll try and bring you specifics and updates on how some of that stuff. So this is a good question. So how do some of these procedures work? I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a lawyer. I do have some education around the law system, specifically the federal law system. The judge has the ability to, at any point in time, before or after verdict, to overturn any sort of verdict or conduct a mistrial. And that is his prejudice. So it's one of those things. Casey, I don't know if you're muted on purpose. Okay, I think he's popping off the screen there. So I'll just kind of do what I understand, which is that it is something that as they are processing through the court, there are certain barriers that people run into, and you've seen this throughout the day, in almost every day since the case began, which is that there are process. So the entire predicate of this specific case is on a homicide charge, specifically a homicide 1 charge, which includes premeditated murder. So one of the things that's happened in a consistent fashion is that the prosecution has entered into evidence in court before the defense has had an opportunity to review some of the specific case items being entered in, which is considered misconduct inside of a courtroom. And you've seen the judge kind of come down on people and make big statements about the potential error in those and where those might lead. He's also stepped back and said, until we have a verdict from the jury, we're going to basically sidestep these things. And my belief is that he truly is trying to give the best opportunity for a juror of his peers to hand down a correct and just decision. The concern I think that we all share here at Be the Change, along with many other networks, is that we're seeing a concerted effort from the media to misconstrue specific information, and furthermore, some of the things specifically in the courtroom that should be going to process. For example, entering in media from a drone footage that was enhanced, that was not the same footage that was turned over to the defense. These are specific things that you can point to that, although may not seem like a big deal to an average consumer of information, the difference in quality of video is something that can be absolutely questioned, and brings in the argument of reasonable doubt, right? So when the prosecution enters evidence that the defense does not have, that is in congruence or exactly the same, that technically is procedural misconduct. So I want one of the things, as we're all discussing, what could happen, what might happen, what currently is happening, which is a little flip-flopping. We have to be fair to the judge and say that he is doing his best to make this a case that allows for the jury to come back with a fair verdict. And it may seem as though sequestering the jury might be the right thing to do. I think we're just, again, at a point where he is doing his best to allow this case to proceed without interference, specifically from the court, that then can be backlash towards the court. And so he is, in my opinion, giving his best opportunity to these jurors to do what he sees as fair justice. Now, he has mentioned that he will be hearing the mistrial dockets once the jury has come back with a verdict. And yeah, I see. So Jay, I think this is an interesting thing, doing everything he can except sequestering him. So one of the things that, and I'll just kind of touch on this. I think this splits both ways. You sequester a jury, typically when they are having a hard time getting to a resolution. Right now, it's only been 2.5 days of deliberation. That's not exactly a long time. It's not a short time either. It gives credence to the argument of, are they truly able to articulate and also to interpret the law to the fullest extent and come to a consensus? The answer of that question as of this moment is no. Otherwise, we would have a verdict in the courtroom that could be read and ultimately understood. And then there could be, and then the judge has mentioned that he will hear those procedural misconduct, mistrial dockets. And so one of the most important things I think to remember is that sequestering a jury forces them into a confined space, essentially. And it can put pressure on them to make a decision that they don't necessarily agree with. And so, although I agree that sequestering a jury in this instance might be the best situation, I can also see how the court looks at it and says, for the totality of every individual involved, we want to keep this as normal as possible, as to not force a verdict that may be unjust one way or the other. And that means guilty or not guilty. And we all are going to see that a little bit differently. Now, those of us on this side, I think we're looking at it and saying, this is a specific clear-cut case of self-defense. But again, there are some things that are being considered. Now, I looked a little bit into Wisconsin law last night specifically. And one of the things that I am seeing is that the jury does have the opportunity to actually introduce a set of lower charges that are not currently being considered. And one of the things that may be happening right now, and again, this is just pure conjecture on my part, so let me be clear, I don't have anything that backs this up other than some further understanding into Wisconsin law, is that under their statute, the jury can actually come back if they feel as though they have found essentially a crime that is convictable, and they can come back and request that there be charges brought that are lesser charges than what we already are aware of, I think 5 charges that are out there. And if the first 2 are not found guilty, essentially the 2 homicide charges, then the other lesser charges can still apply, but they can also recommend that there be potentially a manslaughter case or something of that nature. And so the jury has a lot on their plate. Not only do they have a lot of instruction, but there's been a lot of breakup in their ability to acquire and absorb information. This hasn't been a day after day, let's sit for 8 hours, listen to defense, listen to prosecution. There's been a lot of breaking up throughout, specifically the last 3 days of arguments, where they were sent out of the courtroom nearly every 15 minutes for a good majority of the day. So just as everybody's looking at this, as much as we want a quick and just verdict to come in, justice under the law is not necessarily justice under the court of public opinion. And right now, that is kind of what we're up against in a lot of ways. And I think to, what Casey was speaking to earlier with some of the individuals in the media kind of chasing down and trying to get information or to kind of pester this jury, it actually bodes well to a case for mistrial. So we know that the judge isn't going to hear that until a verdict is handed down. We may see, if they don't come to a verdict today, we may see them push till Monday. If that's the case, I think there is an argument to be made that it's not entirely based on the grounds that he's guilty, but it could be based on the grounds that they're trying to figure out what lesser charge, excuse me, I apologize, may apply. And that doesn't mean that they'll find him guilty of any of those things. It's just about going through the law line by line, specifically being able to review evidence. And then once the verdict is handed down, whether guilty or not guilty, the judge can go in and rehash some of these specific objections and motions for mistrial. So let's understand that and let's have some patience. But again, I'll just reiterate kind of what I said last night is I think it is very much high time that we put prayers up for our justice system, that no matter what comes out, is that we see a peaceful assembly, because I think the biggest concern here is that there could be a miscarriage of justice, and there are ways to appeal that. There are ways to get the court to rehear some of the trial, to go back and do some procedural stuff that would allow them to make a case that some of the intense media coverage, the seemingly allowance of misinformation to be entered into public record inside the courtroom, these kinds of things are absolutely will be considered. It's just a matter of allowing the jury to do this uninterrupted. I think the last thing that anybody wants here is for the judge to intervene prematurely and cause for people to lose their minds and say they didn't even get a chance to hand down a verdict once the information had been passed to them and deliberations had begun. So I'll just remember it's very confusing. A lot of this is, like I said, specifically procedural, and in court, terms that we use on a pretty regular basis have basis under the law, and they mean extremely different things. And so I'll kind of give you guys that. Now, this is a great question. How can it be on the charge of manslaughter when it's clearly self-defense? So this is the question, I think, that is probably, if I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a jury, this may be exactly the question. How can it be a charge of manslaughter when it's clearly self-defense? Well, self-defense does not always mean that manslaughter does not apply. And I think that there is an assumption that just because you were defending yourself does not mean that life was not lost, and maybe done so with a slight negligence. And manslaughter really is just a charge that applies, and it's a very broad term. So it depends on what kind of manslaughter they may be looking at. And again, pure conjecture here on my part, guys. So let me be very, very, very clear on this. If manslaughter is entered into the potential charges that may come, they will have to basically give down a decision that disseminates the difference between what they think is self-defense and where they think that there was an opportunity to flee or change direction or do something different that did not end in the loss of life. And so manslaughter, if you're driving down the road and you hit somebody and it causes a loss of life, that is technically manslaughter as well. Is it intentional? No. And I think that there is some varied evidence that you could point to that in a specific manner, without knowing the totality of things, you could be looking at a manslaughter charge. Now, do I agree with that specifically? I do not. But I will point out that under Wisconsin law, it is my understanding that the jury can recommend lesser charges. And again, whether they apply or not may be exactly what they are as trying to deliberate right now. They are in day 2.5 of deliberation right now. And so, as we're moving forward, we need to consider that there is a lot of there's a lot. These people are probably emotional, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's easy for them to go home every night to try and abide by the rules of jury deliberation, to not get onto social media, to not see what's going on the news. And so I just, I want to bring up those points because this is as clear and cut and dry as some of this seems to us. We have to remember these are 12 different individuals in a room who are trying to work out the fate of an individual's life. And so, we have to put it in context like that. So I'll kind of leave it at that from a procedural standpoint. There is still a lot to be done inside the courtroom. And we will see the judge specifically speak on that. My guess is probably within minutes of the jury coming down with a verdict. I'm just going to go through some of the comments here. What state did it even happen in? Happened in Wisconsin, specifically in Kenosha, which is about 15 minutes from the Illinois border. And so a lot of people who work in Kenosha do travel from Illinois and vice versa. So just, be aware of that, guys. Kind of go back to some of this. MSNBC trying to gain dirt to intimidate jury. Go figure. Yeah, as much as I wish that this was something that I could repudiate, or excuse me, yeah, repudiate, apologize, kind of tongue tied here this morning, but we just don't know. This is speculation at best. We do know that the media is extremely interested in the results of this case. And we need to be very aware of their influence over the jury and the potential public opinion as well. I have less of a concern that they're influencing the jury and more of a concern that they're influencing the social policy, as well as the people that are gathering in front of courthouses and stuff like that. So trying to touch on that a little bit. Yeah, no, I think this was self-defense. The people, he did take their life. And, at some point, we do have to recognize lives are lost. Whether we agree that these people were good or bad people is not the statute that the law works off of. It works off of, premeditated murder, heat of the moment murder. Basically, all homicide is determined by intention. So, we have to look at it that way. This is actually a very fair question. Why did they not request a trial in another city? So oftentimes, what we may deem as fair is something that we have to recognize. You are supposed to be tried by a jury of your peers. And so it's under relatively stressful circumstances where they do not feel that they can get a jury that is at least non-biased enough to try the case. In this instance, the defense is able to pick at least half of the jurors. And so if they felt like all of the jurors that they had pulled, that they're able to pull back and ask questions to about specifics to the case, if they did feel as though they were not going to get a fair case in Kenosha, they absolutely could have asked for a new venue that would have taken it into a different place. I don't think that's specifically necessary. I do think that the people of Kenosha are capable of handing down a fair and just verdict. The hope is that they haven't been intimidated by the larger forces at play right now. So let me see. I'm going to kind of just keep going through some of your comments here. Yeah, this is an interesting. So Danny, I think one of the most interesting questions that needs to be answered right now is that the prosecution used some very specific language about bringing a gun to a fist fight, and one of the more shocking, at least in my opinion, the more shocking things that they were presenting is that it was an unfair fight provoked rather than somebody taking self-defense standpoint. Will this be converted into case law? I don't think that that's necessarily, this doesn't necessarily have weight across the country. It may have some weight in specifically Wisconsin law. But again, all of the things that are happening now will have a potential for either the judge to declare mistrial now or an appeals court to go back and review and say, was this a fair case? And did the prosecution do their best to present accurate and clear information? And there are clearly inconsistencies, to say the very least, that need to be addressed across the board right now. And so I think part of the line of thought that the judge specifically is using right now is to allow the jury to come back, a jury of peers, mind you, right, to come back with a verdict first. At that point, the judge has the opportunity to actually poll each of those jurors and get a sense of what happened inside the jury room, as well as to ask very specific questions about the process that was used in order to come to whatever whatever verdict that is given. And some of those specific things may change the dynamic of what the verdict comes back to be. So it will be very interesting. I will say that this is a very high profile case. These types of procedural things hang up court cases for months and months and months in a lot of instances. Criminal cases, civil cases, all sorts of things get hung up on procedural stuff all of the time. It's a matter of going back and visiting those things and getting clarity from the judge, and then instructing the jury in an accurate and clear way. I think we have missed maybe a few opportunities there. That being said, I can't speak for the judge. I can only speak to what appear to be his actions. And I really do believe he is trying his best to make this as open to the public as possible, in the hopes, in my opinion, that that they come back with a just verdict again. So we'll kind of take a couple more questions here. I think we're kind of at kind of a standstill here with where they're at in the courtroom. And we may take a break and come back to you guys a little later once we have a little more information. But I'll take a few more questions here as we're kind of looking for the next steps. I know Casey's back. He's in the background here, so I'll have him shoot me a message when and if we need to jump out. But I'm happy to answer questions here for you guys. Yeah, no, I think, Stephanie, this is a good point. The judge has been incredibly patient. There are a lot of judges that may have thrown this out very quickly and easily. To not have thrown this case out at this point certainly gives me pause. But again, I think he's doing his absolute best to avoid a large public tantrum. And that's the best way I can put it. And by being patient, that is a judge's first, typically their first interaction. And so we just have to consider those things as we're waiting for some of this information to trickle out. Did the prosecution argue stand your ground laws at all? So in Wisconsin, stand your ground is a little fuzzy in some areas. You cannot protect buildings. The bar for self-defense is relatively, I would say it's relatively high by comparison to some other states. And so I think it's one of those things that, based on the statutes that are available to me as a citizen outside of Wisconsin that I've been able to read and understand, stand your ground is not the exact way I would word their law. It is a law based on the perception of great bodily harm and injury. And that doesn't necessarily follow you everywhere you go. And nor does it apply to buildings or structures. It applies to the individual. And that is really, I think, one of the interesting places this case has gone. So, as we're looking at this again, we have to have kind of clear eyes around what may or may not happen. And I just wanted to kind of offer some of the procedural stuff that's going on, and just know that it's not this deliberation going for 2 days. Although we thought there may be a quick verdict, is not necessarily to say that they are not doing due diligence. They absolutely are, and in my opinion, the judge is trying to give them that opportunity to rise above the social pressure, as hard as that might be. So, good point. I think this is what we're trying to avoid. I think is chaos. The judge does have the opportunity to declare mistrial after verdict, but again, that is not going to be something that, in my opinion, is going to cause any sort of significantly different outcome on the streets of Kenosha. People have been very open in their stance about what they are going to do, no matter what. And so I think that we need to try and calm our nerves and understand that there are some premeditated results going to come from this one way or the other. One thing I will say I did see this morning is I did see some counter protesting happening that was seemingly peaceful. There wasn't, as far as I could tell, any interaction that was super tense, or even remotely, violent in any way. And you see people showing up to the courthouse, specifically saying some of the things we talked about yesterday, showing support for the jury and the courtroom and the ability for the law to be applied in the way that it's supposed to be done. So I will say that is something that was nice to see. My hope is that it doesn't escalate and turn into something that it shouldn't be. So yeah, Betty, this is great. So, right. So the judge is trying to leave it in the hands of the jury. We have to have faith in our system. And to make any judgment before there is a verdict in hand would bode well to the case that is being made in the court of public opinion right now, that this is not a fair trial, and that there isn't, that the judge has been, prejudiced in some way. This is the best way for them to continue the traditional court understanding, which is that you are not guilty until you you are innocent until you are proven guilty. And we need to give the jurors the confidence to make those decisions. And until they have made those decisions, a lot of what we're speaking on specifically is conjecture. And again, I'll just clarify that in that sense. So, any other questions, guys? I'm kind of poking through comments here. Try and answer anything procedural. I'll do my best to answer. I have, like I said, I've done quite a bit of research. I am not a lawyer, but I do understand law pretty well. It's something that's been interesting to me my whole life. So I've dove into it via school a little bit, and then a lot as a personal citizen, just kind of looking at different cases and things like that. So I think we're trying to figure this out. Casey, I know, is in the background. I'm gonna throw him a question. I don't know if he can hear me. Do we know if the judge has dismissed the jury for the day, or are we kind of? I'll see if he can throw me maybe something in the chat there. I think we're trying to figure that out right now, guys. It was kind of unclear what happened specifically. So we're trying to get to the bottom of that, and as soon as we do, we'll know whether we're going to cut the feed for the day or come back a little bit later. Let's see. Do I have any favorite highlights of the prosecution or defense? I hate to say I have favorite highlights of a murder case. I'll just be honest with you. None of this is good. I will say some of the things that I think were extremely, extremely important is that the judge was able to articulate very well, at least from my standpoint, that there was definitely some stuff that was happening outside of the courtroom that he was aware was going to potentially affect the jury's ability to make a clear decision. So I think it's important that people recognize that these jurors have a lot of information to work off of, not only from the cases presented and the defenses presented, but also understanding, what the media has kind of alluded to in a lot of ways. I hope that that they are able to clearly be able to look back at the instructions that were given by the judge, to be able to discard any of the media attention and things that have been said there. And again, we're placing our trust in the justice system, and that is the appropriate place to put our faith at this point in time. We have no reason to believe that these jurors are incapable of handing down a just verdict. We have reasons to believe that they could be intimidated into doing something that would not feel just. But what's just and what's fair is not always what I think or what you think. It is what the 12 members that are his peer group decide in a room of totality. So I will just I'll reiterate that. Let's see. On a break from work, nothing new going on right now. We're just kind of standing by right now. I think that the jury has been, I believe they've been dismissed back into deliberation. I could be mistaken about that. I apologize, guys. I've been kind of popping in and out this morning a little bit. We'll try and update you here in just a second.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
It looks like
Yeah.
it's not update on the court. I think the court's going to be kind of in a recess or something, whatever they're doing. If they're deliberating, then they're deliberating. But
Right.
there was no next steps. They're saying there's an ongoing investigation. So I don't know if that puts the trial in a pause or what. But
do you know what the ongoing investigation was pertaining to, Casey?
the MSNBC employee.
So they are actively investigating that then.
Yes.
Okay, so that I was under the impression that was a rumor. So
no,
if we've got
the judge
confirmation
confirmed
on that,
the judge confirmed it, that it was that the rumor that people corrected me, and that finally there's videos out of it now. I thought I heard the judge say he assumes that MSNBC will not be allowed here anymore, but no, they are banned. From
so
being
that's
in the courthouse.
That's an important thing to process, guys. And so I've gotten a lot of questions about the process here. The fact that you have a major media group, and when I say major, this is one of the 5, right? One of the 5 major media outlets in our country has now been, sounds like, banned from the premises because of their misconduct. And this is one of those things that, again, because of their insatiable appetite for stories, could cause a mistrial. And let me be specific. There are 2 different types of mistrial. There is mistrial and there is mistrial with prejudice. They could declare a mistrial and retry this entire case. Same charges applying, maybe some tweaking of those charges in order to try and make them fit a little better. If the judge does not dismiss this trial with prejudice, they will just probably rebring these charges back. Now, if it is dismissed with prejudice, that does mean that they can no longer bring these charges back to him without an extreme amount of appeals going on. And that may, one of the things that I have noticed, and again, complete conjecture here, guys. So please understand, this is my opinion, and my opinion personal. I do not represent the entire totality of Be the Change in this thought process, but some of the actions that have been taken by the prosecution are so wildly outside of the bounds of prosecutorial misconduct that it is not unbelievable to think that the prosecution has tried to potentially get this case struck in as a mistrial so that they can go back, regather evidence, and bring a different case in front of the judge that may be stronger or maybe more well thought out and put together. So we have to be extremely cautious about expecting a mistrial with prejudice. There very well may be a mistrial based on procedural misconduct, but that doesn't mean that they can't retry the case, and we could see this drag out for quite some time. So, let's just take that into account as we're kind of talking about it. But if MSNBC has been banned, I think that again goes to a very big point that the jury, in fact, may have felt the intimidation from not but one, but many sources. And now that you have a big media, a big media outlet being investigated for what looks to be a tremendous misstep is
Yeah.
It's accountability. And you know, it kind of goes back to the Sandman stuff. If they're out chasing jury members down in order to try and influence this trial, whatever verdict is handed down may be thrown out, and there may be a tremendous civil case to be made, particularly from Rittenhouse, for you know, defamation, for all sorts of different interesting things. And that may very well be the case regardless of what the jury hands out. They still may be able to prosecute or at least civilly penalize some of these media outlets who have completely spun this case from one thing to another.
Oh, geez.
So we'll see.
So Brian Stelter just posted on Twitter 11 minutes ago. News statement: last night, a freelancer received a traffic citation while the traffic violation took place near the jury van. The freelancer never contacted or intended to contact the jurors during deliberation and never photographed or intended to photograph them.
Oh my God.
Can we call bullshit?
Yeah, I think I'll take the lead and then let you guys kind of hammer it out. But this guy's, you know, look, it's this started with them airing footage of George Floyd's brother essentially throwing threats out, saying we're going to track these people down, we're going to dox them, you know, we're going to make sure that we get the verdict we want here. I don't think that was taken very seriously, although I know that there was some involvement that happened about midway through the trial, and then somebody, I want to say it was probably Monday at this point. I do know that they had taken cell phone footage from an individual, made them erase it off of their phone. So, you know, there's been a lot of trying to get to the jury in one way or another. And in this digital age, just a single picture or image of one of these jurors is not hard to then track them down either through social media or some other means and dox them. And so there is a tremendous concern for the jury's safety right now, I think, and as a general rule. But more so than their safety, the concern is for their ability to deliberate fairly.
Well, what we're seeing is a difference in how jury intimidation works. It's always been a thing, jury intimidation, but it used to be criminals like crime syndicates would intimidate a jury to get one of their guys
the
off.
mafia would show up and make a big show, right?
Yeah, but now we're at a point where they're the mob. Like, it's not the mob as in like the mafia. It's the mob as in the tyrannical BLM protesters and Antifa protesters and everything like that, trying to outwardly influence every single thing. And you have your mainstream media outlets. Brian Stelter, like, that man is never, ever, ever going to do anything other than exactly what he's told to do, because he looks in the mirror every morning and knows he is good for nothing else other than parroting what they want him to say. And he has no morals or ethics. He has absolutely nothing going for him as a human being other than being able to just play goalie for the leftist media at this point. And so, of course, he's going to come out and say, oh, they weren't taking any pictures. It's like, dude, no. You're not supposed to be following the jury home. You're not supposed to be following the jury van. You're not supposed to be doing what they were doing. And so the jury intimidation now, it's like, why? It makes you wonder, why is it that they always seem to kowtow to what the left wants versus what the right wants? And it's because at the end of the day, they know that we, as the conservative and libertarian right, the peaceful ones, we peacefully protest. They know more damage will come by going against what the left wants than what the right wants, because we protest peacefully, and that's how we should be doing that. But we should not be rewarding what the left does. If they're going to burn stuff down, arrest them. Like, this is why else does the police exist? Why else does the state exist? Like, I hate the state. At least do the one freaking job you're supposed to do, the one job that I agree you should do, which is protect property. But you can't even do that anymore. And so they kowtow. You see a microcosm of it on college campuses, right? Why is it that when the LGBTQ people want something and we the conservative or the libertarians want something on campus, they always do what the LGBTQ wants? Because they know the conservatives aren't going to protest as loud. They're not going to be as aggressive. They're not going to be as vicious or anything else, because that's not how things work. So they know that if they try to placate the LGBT left in that, because they know it'll reduce their headache a little bit. And so it's ended up becoming a cancer to our system. Rather than actually doing what you're supposed to do, they've set the precedent of placation. And we have a society now where if you're on the left, it doesn't matter what the facts of the case are. What matters is what you want from the case. The truth is what you want out of the case, nothing more. So it's become.
So I'm gonna pull this up. I don't know. Let me see if we can. Let's see.
There we go.
Let's see if we can get this up here. Okay, so I just pulled up an article, and this is specifically speaking about MSN being banned. This is from Deadline, just a independent news source. Says the judge in the homicide of Kyle Rittenhouse has banned MSNBC from the courthouse after an incident in which a man who identified himself as a producer for the network was suspected of following the jury bus. And then his quote is that I have instructed that no one from MSNBC News will be permitted in this building for the duration of the trial, according to Judge Bruce Schroeder. This is a very serious matter, and I don't know what the ultimate truth of it is, but absolutely it would go without much thinking that someone who is following a jury bus, that is an extremely serious matter and will be referred to the proper authorities for further action. They were able to identify the individual as James J. Morrison. And he said that Morrison is identified himself to the police as a producer for NBC News and is employed by MSNBC. Says that he told authorities his supervisors had told him to follow the bus, that he went through a red light as he tried to follow that vehicle. Let's see. MSNBC did not return requests for comment immediately. Schroeder has also criticized media outlets, as we've kind of talked about, for their coverage of the trial. And on Wednesday said that he would have to think long and hard about allowing cameras in the future. And I just want to touch on that really quickly. That's actually kind of a scary thing to me, that they are able to not only intimidate potentially a jury pool, but also that there is concern that he can no longer have cameras in his courtroom. One of the things that is absolutely beautiful about our justice system is that we do allow for open court. And I think that although it can present issues, it is something to be aware of, that this judge no longer feels that he may be comfortable in being able to air cases. That's a very dicey situation, but that gives us kind of an update on specifically what's going on with this MSNBC producer, and kind of gives us a feel for what may or may not happen here in the long run.
Yeah, the being able to have cameras in the courtroom, it's a privilege, right? It's a privilege that allows for more transparency and openness. Obviously, everything that goes on there in general is going to be for the record. It's going to be on the record. Transparency is paramount in these situations, though. But have they? So, because I think we're gonna just wrap for a little bit. Because we don't know what's going on. So what is I was at work for a little bit and I just got home not too long ago. So what is the update from this morning outside of the NBC thing? Is the jury in deliberation still?
Sounds like the jury is back in deliberation. I think we're going to probably break here for a little while. We'll probably come off screen for a while until we can figure out and piece together whether or not we're going to hear from the jury here today.
I think
Casey
we'll
can
stop the
probably
live.
give us
We'll stop the live for right now because we have no idea what to expect at this moment. Because we don't know if this investigation put the entire trial on pause. It shouldn't, but no one said anything on what the next steps are after this investigation was announced by the judge. and we got to wait and see,
Yeah.
and see what goes on there. But
Everything
I
that we're
have it up.
talking about right now is pure speculation and conjecture. So,
Right.
So
I mean,
I
I'm
have it up
always
on my screen,
100%
and I
correct.
keep an eye on it. And
I only
just-
speak objective truth, so
oh, geez,
most of what we say is pure conjecture,
whatever.
except for me.
So I'll keep an eye on it, and then when it comes back live or something, I'll just throw up a live again. It might be just me quickly throwing it up just so we can broadcast it. We'll see.
we will pop in and out throughout the day, guys. Again, I am not a lawyer, so let me be clear. My understanding of the law is by reading it and interpreting it as an individual who hope that it applies across the board as a fair statement. So I will do everything I can to disseminate some of that law for you. We do have somebody who is a little more versed in some of the law fields here with us today. So hopefully we'll get Kevin to be up with us a little bit more. But as we're going through this, just remember that none of us are in that jury room. We are not the lawyers nor the prosecutors, and so we're gonna try and disseminate as much as we can, and we'll give it to you as soon as we can.
Yeah, so we'll just see. We'll see, guys. We'll wrap this up here. But stay in touch. Have all the notifications turned on for when we go live, and then when we go live
go
again.
ahead. Yeah, have your notifications turned on, guys, because that's the quickest way to get the stream back up for us, so that you guys can join back. And like I said, we will do our best to bring you that live, real time, and we will pop in and out to give legalese.
Yep, if it comes back up, I'll be back. So see y'all later.
Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you guys later.
Have a great day.